U-turn is a very good move, but sometimes it's not. And you're probably like, Joey, what the hell are you talking about? It gives you momentum. You get to see what your opponent's doing. You can react accordingly. Oh yeah, that's all great. But honestly, in OU right now, I think there's only maybe one or two good U-turners, and I'm gonna go through the list and kind of talk about them. So if you guys do enjoy this type of video, feel free to subscribe. I'm on my way to 257,000 subscribers, and yeah, I want to give my thoughts on U-turn and specifically the U-turn users. So let's look at Urshifu. Urshifu is one I believe sucks at using U-turn. Do not use U-turn on Urshifu. It is bad. It is bad, and I'll give you a breakdown as to why. But Urshifu is probably one of the most limiting, if not broken, Pokemon in OU, and I'm saying that when Cinderace is right under it and Magearna's not on this list, but somewhere down there as well. Urshifu is extremely limiting Pokemon. Why? Because of its signature move, Wicked Blow. It always crits, as well as having good fighting stab and close combat. So it essentially has two 120 base power stab moves, has Sucker Punch priority, right? And on top of that, has some good coverage too. Why would you use U-turn on this Pokemon? You might be thinking, well, if they go out into a fairy type, I can get some momentum. Sure, but let's that might have worked in the Olive Armor, but let's look a little bit at the Crown Tundra. So here's your typical Urshifu set. Let's just go Choice Band, not Bulk Up, not Life Orb, not anything like that. But it would be something like this. And then your last move is either Poison Jab or Sucker Punch. I'm gonna say Poison Jab for this. I think Poison Jab is the best one. And yeah, let's go through the current OU tier as to why you shouldn't U-turn. So your thought process might be, well, my opponent can go out to Clefable or Tapu Fini, and I want to get the momentum into something like Nidoking. Now that is fine. That's honestly not a terrible thought process when going into this. But let's look at what current OU has to offer. I'm gonna go through the list of Rocky Helmet Pokemon, and yeah, I just want you guys to see Buzzwole, which is something you couldn't do anything to anyway. Clefable. Corviknight, Ferrothorn can run, obviously it's Iron Barb's ability, Garchomp, Rocky Helmet plus Rough Skin, and then of course you have Landorus, but on top of that you have the birds, and the birds don't run Rocky Helmet, but they do run Heavy Duty Boots, so Moltres and Zapdos, and of course Pex also runs Helmet. So by going for U-turn to quote-unquote get momentum on the Fairy switching, you are limiting your potential on Urshifu because a lot of the aforementioned Pokemon can be switching, especially if they expect close combat or anything like that. You're taking that little chip from the Rocky Helmet, from the Rough Skin, from whatever, and on top of that, you have that 30% chance to get burnt or paralyzed by both Moltres and Zapdos, respectively. So, on top of that, you're also limiting your endgame play with Urshifu, and what do I mean by that? It's pretty easy to wear down a Tapu Fini, right? If you click Wicked Blow, you're getting 33% off, 30% off on Tapu Fini. And depending on your switching, what you have, maybe your Magearna is your swap on the Draining Kiss, or Ferrothorn, or Melmetal, or shoot, even Moltres if you want to get the burn if there's no terrain up, depending on how you changed it. That's damage that's semi-unrecoverable. And by that I mean that they can't use Recover, they don't have Softball, they don't have whatever to be able to recover that. So this Wicked Blow is opening up for an endgame to put them in range of Poison Jab, right? If Tapu Fini's at 50%, Bandit Poison Jab is going to knock it out, even if it's fully physically defensive. And Clefable also gets 2-hit KO'd by the Poison Jab as well. And I'm not saying to click Poison Jab on a prediction, but when you're using Choice Band or Urshifu, Wicked Blow and Close Combats are so free because Wicked Blow always crits. Obviously, it doesn't have to worry about Landorus' Intimidate or the Rocky Helmet because you're 2-hit KO anyway through it. You only take 2 turns of Helmet as opposed to going for U-turn, predicting Landorus to want to come in, but also not trying to hit the Fairy, and then you're taking this extra damage for no reason. And again, you're setting yourself up for no endgame versus Fairy types while having U-turn. Momentum is not bad. I don't want people to get that mixed up. Momentum is not bad. In fact, I do think that some of the U-turns on the list are actually very good at going for U-turn. The next one we're actually going to be talking about. But when it comes to Urshifu, I think you always want to be able to click Wicked Blow or Close Combat. There's a reason why Choice Band and Life Orb are some of the best sets. Life Orb doesn't limit itself, and Life Orb doesn't run U-turn. They always run Poison Jab. Why? Because they're taking damage per turn, so they don't want to waste turns. Imagine I go for U-turn, and I get 2% off on a Pokemon, and then I take a Life Orb hit, right? 10% off me. It's the same concept even when using Choice Band. You don't want to waste a turn by going for U-turn. You want to get your hit out. The only time it's probably acceptable to go for U-turn is when your opponent has Buzzwole and that's it. And even then, like, who cares? Go for Wicked Blow and switch. Most of them are running Boots or Leftovers anyway if they're not running Rocky Helmet. If you're pairing Urshifu, Urshifu's some of its greatest partners are fairy types like Feeny, Clef, Magearna, and defensively, well, those are defensive, but, well, mixed. But Toxapex as well, which is a great Buzzwole answer. And if they're running Rocky Helmet, you can T-Spike them and status them and whatnot. So, point being, U-turn is not good on Urshifu. There's too much risk. You take too much damage, you're not doing enough damage back, and you're not setting yourself up for an endgame versus potential fairy types as well. You're limiting Urshifu's potential, and that's saying a lot considering this is one of the most limiting Pokemon out there, period. So there's Cinderace. Now Cinderace, honestly, in my opinion, is a good U-turner. Why? He's a heavy-duty boots, so it doesn't have to worry about hazard damage, doesn't have to worry about anything like that. But the big thing is its ability, which changes its typing. And the reason I don't mind Cinderace as much is because, I mean, a standard set would be Pyro Ball, put Gunk Shot here as well. I think Gunk Shot is amazing, and that's the big reason why like something like U-turn is fine too, because you're getting momentum. U-turn, and then either Sucker Punch, High Jump Kick, Low Kick, whatever. Let's just assume it's this because you don't care about Pult, you don't care about Spectre. The reason U-turn is good on Cinderace is because it actually lets you do damage to one of the best Cinderace switch-ins, which is Slowbro. If you knock off its heavy-duty boots and have rocks up, you can 2-hit KO with U-turn, especially if, again, rocks are up. And they have no recoil on them. Or, excuse me, they have no... I mean, if rocks are up, they're not at 100%. So you can 2-hit KO with Adamant, U-turn type of thing. But on top of that, Cinderace has the ability to switch up moves freely. And because of its ability, it's getting stab on every single move. So it's a lot less of a drawback to go for U-turn because you can still... when you U-turn on something, you're typically picking the Pokemon that you are U-turning on. Like if Moltres is in front of you, you're not going to click U-turn because it'll change you into a bug type. And you'll become a... you have the chance to get burnt. So... usually in that scenario, you're clicking Power Ball, Gunk Shot, almost always, right? If Slowbro comes in, typically it's heavy-duty boots. You don't have to worry about taking the extra damage. You don't have to care about hazards because of your own boots yourself. And again, for the most part, this Pokemon is just firing off attacks. It only U-turns when it really needs to, as in if it's in front of something that it can't touch, like Slowbro with any of its other moves, or I guess Pex, though Pex is a different one. I just hard switch on Pex. And you could run Zen Headbutt, but I think Zen Headbutt sucks too. But that's a totally different thing. But for the most part, this is the type of Pokemon that is okay with getting away with it just because of its overall ability to change to its typing. And then obviously U-turn hits things like Latios for super effective damage, Hydreigon without having to risk high jump kick type of thing. So at least in this case, it's like Pheromosa going for U-turn in a sense. This and Pheromosa are probably the best two ones. And the only reason I mean that is that it's stab. So you're actually getting some real damage off from that. Whereas it comes with Urshifu, it's not stab. It's freaking, it's anti-stab because you're taking damage. So Cinderace is an alright U-turner. And also this is a fine set for it. You can also use Sucker Punch as well, like I said, for Spectre and things like that. So it's an alright U-turner. Though of course, still be careful because while Pokemon like Ferrothorn are less likely to come in on you, so that's another thing, like certain Pokemon are less likely to come in on you. Landorus might come in on you. You're almost always firing off Pyro Balls if they don't have Pex or Heatran. Even if they have like Moltres, you're almost always going for that. You don't go for U-turn versus Moltres, you hard switch, or you Gunk Shot raw on it, that way you can 2-hit KO. So that's that. Now we have Corviknight. And Corviknight suffers kind of from the same thing that Urshifu does, but a little bit differently, because this is the set I would personally run on Corviknight, if you're running Defog, that is. Again, I really hate U-turn on Corviknight currently too. What is it, like, is it 248? I have a set down there that allows it to take +2 Kartana after, I think I built that team recently. Here it is. This lets it take +2 Kartana's Life Orb knockoff after I think 2 Stealth Rock switches. So we'll put that in here. So again, very similar to Urshifu. The reason why Corviknight doesn't like U-turning is because Zapdos and Moltres are probably some of the most common switch-ins on this Pokemon, so you don't want to get paralyzed. Well, Para isn't as bad, but you don't want to get burnt by Moltres. You want to be able to threaten something like, obviously, Buzzwole or Brave Bird, break Spectre sub. I mean, this is a 87 and 120 base power move, so like it's a strong move in general. And a big thing as well is like, you don't want to U-turn on Pokemon like Chomp or Ferrothorn who are setting up rocks on you. Because you're just taking Rough Skin and Rocky Helmet, or Iron Bars and Rocky Helmet in that regard too, especially when you're defogging. And Body Press just gives you Like, I think Body Press is the best because it gives you an extra check automatically, right? You're automatically the best extra check. If you're Brave Bird, Swords Dance Rock Slide has a chance of breaking you, right? If you're, I mean, they still have the chance of flinching you to death, but you're not doing anything when you're breaking out of it, right? But if you're Body Press, automatically doing damage to Blissey, right? You're automatically doing damage to Excadrill. You're automatically doing damage to Ferrothorn. You 2-hit KO offensive Heatran type of thing. You're doing a lot to Hydreigon. And while you are quote-unquote losing momentum, Hydreigon is some easy fairy type switching, period. Especially because a lot of them right now are that special defensive leftovers crap that can't touch anything. So while you lose momentum here, Corviknight's main role, especially if you're using Corviknight, is to defog and roost. That's it. You're going to defog, roost, be your pressure staller, be your extra check, be your Kartana check, right? U-turn, if by going for U-turn you are worsening what your main role is, it's a bad move for that Pokemon. And that's my, again, this is only because of the current trends of what's in the Crown Tundra, right? We have the birds. We have Tank Chomp rising up again in popularity. Helmets being ran on everything. Right, so I don't like a Pokemon that is making itself be worse at what its job is because of that. And then there's Dragapult. Dragapult's interesting because I feel like a lot of people are not using it right now. And I think that Specs is still good. I think Scarf is okay. And I think that heavy duty boot sets are really good, as well as Dragon Dance. It's just currently not being used. But I think that if we see a ban in Mag eventually, and especially in Urshifu, I think Urshifu 100% deserves a Suspect test. I think Urshifu is tougher to deal with than Pheromosa, and that's my personal opinion. I know this video isn't about that, it's about U-turn, but I mean, a lot of what I'm saying is a lot of the same stuff, but I just want to relate it to the actual Pokemon. Dragapult has very different switches than the aforementioned Pokemon that we said before, right? For the most part, Zapdos isn't going to come in on this Mon. Moltres may, but if it's Specs, it doesn't appreciate it, and yeah, sure, it can Mystical Fire, but if it's Clear Body, it doesn't care about that either, to lower its special attack. The Pokemon, like Ferrothorn, may not come in on this thing if it's Fire Move or if it's Will-O-Wisp. Like, this Pokemon has very different switchings. Clefable is the main one, Tapu Fini is the main one. So, when it comes to U-turn on Dragapult, it's okay because the Pokemon I mentioned aren't always running like a way of punishing it, right? Clef can run Rocky Helmet. I really love Rocky Helmet on Clef. I do. Urshifu going for Wicked Blow. Oh, you're going to crit me all the time, bro? Take that damage. Take that damage as I softball it up. Though watch out for Adamant Life Form because that Mon can 2-hit KO your Wicked Blow to Poison Jab. But yeah, Pult has very different switchings when it comes to the tier, right? If it's special, Blissey is a switching, not running Rocky Helmet, right? You're rarely ever switching in any of these potential Rocky Helmet Mons. Clef, if it's actually Helmet, like Will-O-Wisp plus Hex beats it 1v1. Corvi is weird because if it's physically defensive, Spec, Shadow Ball, Stealth Threat, and Fire Blast, and if it's running Thunder or Thunderbolt for Mandibuzz too. Excadrill comes in maybe on Shadow Ball, but Excadrill isn't running Rocky Helmet. Ferrothorn, it has to scout the set. Garchomp with Rocky Helmet and Rough Skin, it's a Dragapult. It's a faster dragon. You already know that. Heatran is a main switching too, and Flash Fire is way better in Heatran than Flame Body currently. I like Flame Body a lot during Genesect meta, but Flash Fire is a lot better because being able to switch it on Will-O-Wisp, being able to switch it on Flamethrowers, being able to switch it on Power Balls. Imagine you switch in your Heatran on Cinderace and get 2-hit KO by Power Ball, like without it. So like the main switch-ins to Dragapult are not punishing it for going for U-turn. And though again, I think that Ghost is so good, and because there's no pursuit, I think that clicking Shadow Ball like 99% of the time, especially for Specs, is always the play. But at least in Dragapult's case, its main switch-ins aren't gonna hurt it by it going for U-turn. It's not going to take a lot of damage from it. And if it's running heavy duty boots, it's even better because it can just Will-O-Wisp and Hex and beat a lot of things and not have to worry too much. In fact, it's in its favor if Pokemon like Pex are running Rocky Helmet versus Black Sludge because they're not getting recovery. You don't have to worry about knocking them off. So you burn them, you're getting that 6% per turn from the Will-O-Wisp, and then Hex is 2-hit KOing. So in that case, it's in Dragapult's favor. Now, Landorus. And this is the Mon that I hate that people are running U-turn on. In fact, I did a Showdown live where I had Choice Scarf Landorus, and originally it was Earthquake, Stone Edge, U-turn, and Defog. And holy crap, man, every time I click U-turn, I just want to throw out the whole Landorus. I wanted to throw out the entire Landorus because all I was doing every single time, all the Landorus switch-ins are 100% like, they're automatic, right? You got Ferrothorn, so I was taking Iron Barbs. You got defensive Chomps, so I was taking Rough Skin and Rocky Helmet. You have Zapdos and Moltres, right? I mean, I can Stone Edge on one of them, but if they have something in front of me that like Earthquake is better, and I have switch-ins to Zapdos and Moltres, U-turn is okay, right? No, I get static or I get flame body. I absolutely hate U-turn on Landorus, especially because Landorus is like the best Landorus switching, right? So you go for U-turn on the Rocky Helmet Landorus, you're just taking damage. So when it comes to Lando, obviously there are a bunch of great sets. Choice Scarf is fine. Again, I do not like U-turn because Zapdos is probably one of the main switches to Choice Scarf, as opposed to as well as the other ones that I just mentioned. You have offensive, which is cool. I think Swords Dance is alright. Faster than Needle King is cool too, which is offensive. And then you have the defensive sets that are running like Rocky Helmet, Earthquake, Stealth Rock, Toxic. And I think Toxic is a really good filler over U-turn because you're actually going to be wearing down the main switch-ins. Tank Chomp, Zapdos, Moltres on U-turn / Earthquake, right? So opposing Landorus, so you're actually able to wear them down. And of course, Knockoff is an option too. I think Landorus should always run Stone Edge, whether it's defensive or offensive, personally. Unless it's like Earthquake, Protect, Leftovers, like Toxic type of thing. That Blunder was running. That one's okay too because Protect plus Leftovers is fine. But U-turn just doesn't give Landorus enough, and it's not the same metagame that it was before, right? Because of heavy duty boots, the inclusion of heavy duty boots, you see this rise. Like, I mean, Zapdos was being ran last generation, but I mean, Stealth Rock was also doing 25% to it, so you could actually 2-hit KO it. And if you get status, it sucks. But then you go out to your Kartana and you Z-move Zapdos, it's a wrap, right? It's over. We don't have that anymore. And that's not the case. So Lando doesn't have as free U-turns as it did before, and it just I don't like. I mean, if you don't want to run Stone Edge, I think Rock Tomb is personally. Envy loves Rock Tomb, but I don't like Rock Tomb because if they go defensive Zapdos, excuse me, you're doing about like what, 35%, 40% max, maybe max. You're doing 40% from your support Landorus, even if you have some attack investment. So you're not being able to beat them. They can just roost all you in a Hurricane and beat you 1v1. Smackdown is an option in that regard, so they can let you Earthquake everything. But of course, Smackdown has the risk of you being static or you being burnt by Flame Body, which is why, like I said, I really like Stone Edge on Lando. I think the damage it does and what you can hit is fine, and clicking Earthquake most of the time is just safe. I think you either go for damage or you predict the actual switching that you're expecting to come in, and you go for a Stone Edge on that. 9 times out of 10, I think clicking Earthquake with Landorus and clicking Stone Edge are 100% better than clicking U-turn. Mandibuzz is different. Mandibuzz is a little bit different because it doesn't care as much about taking the chip because it runs heavy duty boots. So while it sucks to get like statics, I mean, for sure, at least when it's getting static, it's going for knockoff, or I mean, Foul Play, Roost, Defog, and U-turn is a set. Toxic are slashes on that too. Knockoff are slashes. What else is there? There is also the Brave Bird is a slash, or slash air slash. I've seen air slash. Air slash is a slash. It actually is a slash, and that lets you hit like Buzzwole, which is pretty cool. But the thing with Mandibuzz is reliable recovery, which is something different than it had versus all the others. Like, I mean, all the others we've seen so far, no reliable recovery besides Corviknight. But Corviknight's role, it can't. If it's burnt, it can't check its Pokemon as well. Mandibuzz is still going to resist Wicked Blow and can still roost it off even if it gets burnt, right? So, and it can still knock off items while doing it, right? But Corviknight can only defog and then die eventually and then has it stacked anyway. So Mandibuzz's role is a little bit different just because of the combination of heavy duty boots plus roost. And also Foul Play is mainly what you need. I don't personally like Mandibuzz that much in the metagame right now anyway. Even though it's a dark type and like Spectre is a problem. But, I mean, I don't like it because it invites in Magearna. Specs Magearna is another busted mon, but something was set up. They're really good, too. But, yeah, at least in Mandibuzz's case, if they came in on something like a Shadow Ball or a Hex from Spectre, right? Just a Scarf, and they did like 13, 14. It's okay in that regard to go for U-turn, even if they go out into something like Ferrothorn to Leech Seed and get up Stealth Rock, because you'll be at around 70%ish, and that's easy to roost off when it comes to Mandibuzz just because of its natural resistances and, again, heavy-duty boots. Now, when you're knocked off, you freaking hate going for a U-turn because you're taking Stealth Rock, you're taking Chip, and all that stuff. But, again, in this thing's case, it's a way different story. And, again, while being burnt in status sucks for your Foul Play overall damage, at least Mandibuzz can still defog and have that reliable recovery to help it out. Pelipper, same thing. Pelipper's U-turn roll is only to support its team. This is not the Pelipper that I like. Obviously, nobody's using Keen Eye Pelipper. I ain't playing through my Ruby version again. So, anyway, Pelipper is U-turner because, I mean, it supports its team. It's actually one of the few good U-turners because Pelipper's role isn't to stay alive for the longest time. It's to get in and switch out so that way you have 7 turns of rain to abuse, right? Once Pelipper comes in, rain's up, and you go for U-turn, you got those turns to abuse rain. So, obviously, it's got a common set. It's Scald, Roost, U-turn. And then I think Defog is pretty on Pelipper, personally. I think Hurricane's a little bit better. You want to hit something like Rillaboom and you do some good damage. Just typings in general, like fighters as well. But you could use Defog. But, I mean, if you're using Defog, then you're staying in for an extra turn. That limits the rest of your team, right? And again, this is only about U-turn. It's not about flip turn. Barraskewda is amazing because it has a high damage output, good attack, double speed and rain, and obviously choice band as well. And has coverage like close combat and psychic things too to deal with aforementioned Pokemon, depending. So I'm not talking about flip turn. I think flip turn's good on Barraskewda and OU. But you're limiting what your rain abusers can do if you stay in with Pelipper for an extra turn. That's why U-turn is really good on it because, again, Pelipper's role is to get in and get out and get in Barraskewda, get in Tornadus, get in Kingdra, getting Ferrothorn, getting Zapdos, whatever it is, getting Garchomp on the rain, getting Ozzy. I'm just naming a whole bunch of different rain abusers that you can use, getting Seismitoad. So that's its role. Its purpose is to do that. That's why U-turn is good for that because it allows it to fulfill its role to a higher, it's the reason why Pelipper is better than Politoed, even though Politoed was OU in Gen 5 with Drizzle, because Pelipper sucks, right? Politoed sucks too. I'm not talking about design. I'm not talking about anything. Maybe that's your favorite Pokemon. That's cool. But they suck as Pokemon without it. There's a reason why. Well, first of all, Politoed can't use Drizzle in the lower tiers, so I'm pretty sure it's ZU or PU right now. I think it's ZU. And Pelipper would be down there too, just chilling in that tier as well if it didn't have Drizzle. But because Pelipper has U-turn, it's able to effectively do what it needs to do for the team. How many more do I have left? Is it just Rillaboom and Tornadus? It is just Rillaboom and Tornadus. Okay, so Rillaboom. The only time I like U-turn on Rillaboom is if my opponent has Hawlucha, or if they have Hawlucha, because you're getting momentum for your team. You're getting in Hawlucha, you're getting in your Shadow Sweeper, your Grassy Seed, and whatnot. That's the only time I really like Rillaboom with U-turn. In fact, if you guys have watched any of my videos, whenever I use Choice Band Rillaboom, obviously Choice Band, obviously Swords Dance doesn't run a U-turn, but if you watch any of my videos where I've used Choice Band Rillaboom, you've seen that I almost always run Wood Hammer, Grassy Glide, Knockoff, and either High Horsepower or Superpower. Why? Because Heatran is probably one of the best switch-ins. Magearna is there too, though Magearna doesn't like Wood Hammers if it's offensive. Heatran does. And going for U-turn for very similar purpose to what we said before. Going for U-turn on a Zapdos or a Moltres and getting staticked or burnt sucks. At least when you go for knockoff, you get rid of their boots, so you can, if you're lucky enough to avoid being statused, you can actually set up rocks later and pressure them for Wood Hammers or other knockoffs and like that. Like Zapdos, if rocks are up, Banded Wood Hammer can 2-KO it, right? So at least in that regard, you're pressuring it. Even if you get status at that point, of course they have the Hurricane. If you get status by them, so static, if Stealth Rock are up, you Wood Hammer on the first time. If they try and roost, they get bopped by the Wood Hammer the second time because they touch the ground, so they lose that flying type of thing. So yes. But again, I really like Superpower because I think being able to hit one of the best Rillaboom switch-ins, Heatran is really important. Same thing with High Horsepower. Same thing being able to hit Ferrothorn. Like if you look again at the OU tier, some of the main switches to Rillaboom. Obviously, Buzzwole is like the exception that you want to U-turn on, but even knocking it off is fine too. Corviknight, once you knock it off, it's whatever. No Rocky Helmet. Ferrothorn's a big one, right? It resists the grass type attack, so knocking it off and also having Superpower to do some massive damage is very important. Heatran, I want to be able to do the Superpower damage to that. Kartana, I don't want to give it free setup on me because I have my moves, and like even going for U-turn, you're just giving it grassy terrain, so it's rough in that potential. So I think that Superpower is an always great move, or High Horsepower. I mean, you're hitting something like Melmetal for a lot. Basically, you're hitting the steals, and I think that's very, very important when it comes to Rillaboom. And again, the only and I always think of these knockoff as well. So like Wood Hammer, Grassy Glide, and knockoff, I think those are given moves when it comes to Choice Band. You want those. Because knockoff also makes switch-ins not become switch-ins later. Besides Heatran, which is again why I say superpower. And a big thing as well is if you're going Jolly Rillaboom, why the hell would you run U-turn and not like superpower or highest power? Why would you make yourself faster than Heatran max speed and not be able to hit them with a super effective move or even more than 40%? Like that grinds my gears. I was thinking about, like, obviously Family Guy, but like also Kling Clang came to mind, so I was like, oh, cool. But yeah, so like, why in that regard would you miss out on that opportunity? So I feel like Rillaboom, if it's choice band, if you're running it with Hawlucha, U-turn's fine because you're using it. Your purpose is to use it to clean up versus rain, but also to get in your setup sweeper with the Grassy Sea, with the Unburden to potentially sweep. And the cool thing about those two together, they pair really well because Hawlucha can run Stone Edge from Moltres and Zapdos and a +2 and knock them out. So like it's really good like in that regard. But otherwise, I think Superpower is better. I don't think Momentum is so much worth that you're throwing away your Rillaboom. And then there comes Tornadus, and Tornadus is really weird because like with heavy duty boots plus regen, you would think it'd be a lot stronger than what it is. But I mean, those birds, man, those birds being around just makes such a huge difference. And U-turn is fine when it comes to the Rocky Helmet mons because of heavy duty boots plus regenerator. So it has the Mandibuzz effect going for it, right? Like it has the heavy duty boots plus quote unquote reliable recovery. In this case, it's regenerator. In other cases, in Mandibuzz is Roost. But the big thing is that Zapdos, right? So like, I truly think that something like in terms of support, I think Taunt Knockoff is fine. Taunt Knockoff Hurricane, and you can either run like Defog or Superpower or whatever you want as your thing. I think that's fine with not heavy duty boots type of thing. But I truly think that Torn doesn't do enough when it's going for U-turn, and it doesn't even, like, its role isn't even that good. Like, I don't like Torn as a defogger. I do not at all. I like it as a stall breaker or as a bulky pivot into, or a bulky check to Kartana, Buzzwole type of thing. Shoot, you can even check Spectre Air type of thing. But I don't like U-turn because Zapdos is on every team. Not every team, but Zapdos is there. Right, and I don't like what it does for you. Like, if I'm gonna hit Zapdos, let me at least knock it off so I can support the rest of the team. And I guess if you're doing this, you could do Defog. But the other option for Torn is obviously the Nasty Plot set, which is hit or miss, literally. You either go Weather Ball if you're in weather, like rain, or you go, which obviously helps you out with your Hurricane and Weather Balls, or you go Psychic, which smacks Pex, but also 2-hit KOs Zapdos. And Zapdos has to get like a really, really, really high roll to knock you out. You can run some Spidef. It has to get a really high roll to knock you out with Discharge. Plus, or it has to paralyze you too. So if you're at full, you're good. You'd be in that situation. But I think that Torn's biggest asset is to be an offensive rain abuser. And if you want to use a support one, Taunt plus Knockoff plus Hurricane is way better with Defog, because you're getting rid of the item, you're stopping them from setting up, but you're actually, Defog is obviously boosting your Hurricane's accuracy as well by where you're going for it, and you're avoiding the hazards, but you're not losing, you're not getting status by going for U-turn. And again, if I'm gonna get status, same thing with Rillaboom. If I'm gonna get status, I'm gonna take your item with me. That way I can support another team member. So that's my personal opinion when it comes to U-turn. Again, I do think they're really good U-turners, and I think Pelipper is a phenomenal U-turner because it helps it do its role a lot better. I think Urshifu is a waste of a U-turner. Do not use U-turn. There's so many Showdown lives, and I really wish I could have found them, because I know I did one in the past week and a half where my opponent had so much potential with Urshifu to mess me up, and they just kept going for U-turn. They really just, and I was like on a high ladder too, but they just kept going for U-turn, and I'm like, you can hear, I'm pretty sure I said thank God, or like you can hear like the sigh of relief when they went for U-turn, because they were just not getting any damage off with their broken Pokemon. The most limiting Pokemon in the tier, literally the most limiting Pokemon, Urshifu. Urshifu, the reason why you gotta run fat on everything. Again, I do think we have other mods that will eventually be looked at, like Cinderace and Magearna, but Urshifu should have been suspect tested forever ago. I know this is a different video. This is not exactly about that, but anyway, hereby for watching. Let me know your thoughts. I stand by what I said, and obviously Volt Switch is different because you're not taking damage by doing it, and the ground types don't want to come in on Volt Switch. Typically, the Volt Switchers have secondary stab that can actually affect them. Right, you have the Rotom forms have good moves for ground types. Freaking Magearna can Flash Cannon, Flare Cannon, Focus Blast, everything if it wants to. And then in terms of flip turn, of course, it's just something that makes Barraskewda even better because it's able to do exactly what it is and be like a great rain abuser. But yeah, thank you everybody for watching. Hope you guys all enjoy it. Leave a like, subscribe. G Fuel is 30% off. I forgot to say that, but it's cool. For those that made it to the end, appreciate you. For those that have been picking up some G Fuel and supporting your boys, Road to Shaker. I think we're 55% of the way towards the Shaker. I got to do the math later. But yeah, it's 30% off using code AIM. It's an energy drink. It's caffeinated, so obviously be aware. Kids, don't get it. You know, I don't even have that many kids that watch. If YouTube demographics say anything, like my highest age graph is like 25 to 31, and then like secondly it's 18 to 24. And it's like 44% and 40% type of thing. But anyway, they do have a hydration line. I love the strawberry lemonade. It has, and the cool thing about hydration line, it actually has no caffeine. So it's no caffeine, no sugar, no calories. So if you guys want to pick that up, the link is down below. You support me, you get it for 30% off. That's a damn skull burn. So you know how good 30% off is. And I'll see y'all next time. Peace.